whenever we work in any of these drills, we always try to make sure that the knife is positioned to work easy, where we don't really have to think about it and adjust much more what we're doing. And you're going to see that the more I get into the polysit drill, it's less about me cutting him and it's more about me passing and making a new position. Because with or without a knife, I can't always tell you that I'll always have a knife on me. I'm not one of those guys. Okay? But I will move as if I had a knife in my hand. Okay? Or I'm going to move like I would empty hand. Right? So I don't have to adjust much. So when he gives me that angle one, remember, all I'm really looking for is this. Right? I'm passing his hand as hard as I can, and I'm stepping to ensure that I can get to the outside angle, not just one or the other. Okay? And I'm definitely not underestimating how fast or how strong this can be, where it's a little bit more flowery or flowing like that. Okay? It's very sharp. Okay? And if my timing is there, if the situation presents itself, that's when I flow into the rest of step number one of the polysit drill. Right? When I get to this outside position, I capitalize here if I wanted to finish it by any means necessary. Later on, when you get more proficient and confident in the angles you create, you might want to go into like a 2-on-1 or some sort of hold or even submission. Right? It just depends on what you like doing and what you're good at. Knife, remember, is very simple. If I just wanted to follow what a knife is supposed to do, when I get that closed gunting, I fire back, cut, whatever it might be. Right? If I finish with the entire polysit here, I just use that, cut, and I'm on with it. But there's no morality in that. Right? So remember, we want to balance that as we learn, and that's part of practicing the polysit structure. Right? Find alternatives so it doesn't always have to be so dark and kill or be killed. Okay? So, off of one, he's going to punch me. He's going to punch me from a particular angle because of the position I created. So my left hand comes straight up. I go open gunting, consume the space on the outside here, hook around, pull to elongate his body. So I want his knife coming from the furthest point possible. I slingshot myself into jam here. I pass it down. Remember, I need to create space to pass this so he doesn't stab me into my body. So I step back. And then I'm going to consume the space once again, create that angle. Right? When I'm on the outside, I want to be towards the back of his shoulder because I know there's going to be something after this if I don't finish it here. My palm goes up. You can C-clamp or you can just push. I'm pushing specifically to his left shoulder. Okay, so I know exactly where it is. And if he were to follow back, I can control at the back of his shoulder here. Okay? Then we go into number 4. I go vertical. I'm going to create space again. Consume the space with my right foot. Bait out this angle 1. Break the timing to clear, and then that will finish the polysit. Okay? So again, if we start from the beginning, I'm just going to flow from the beginning here. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, that's 4, okay? And I finish here. So I'm more so concerned about the positions I'm creating, and then if I can add those cuts in there, whether it's the same motion or it's an immediate follow-up, I do it right away where I don't have to think about it. But I do want to make sure that even without this, I'm over here, okay? I'm over here, I'm over here, I'm over here, and I'm over here, right? So I'm moving the exact same way because it's based on creating the angle to preserve myself. Just so happens the knife is in my hand, so I'm going to use it. If it wasn't in my hand, or if it was in my hand and I didn't want to use it, it makes it a little harder for me to use my grappling techniques, my empty hand capacity, which is not just passing and grabbing and jamming. It's me being able to, figure 4 his arm, go into submissions, right? Grapple, clinch, takedown, okay? Whether you think it's a good idea or not, that's another story, but it's about utilizing the marriage between empty hand and single stick because it is in my hand. It didn't magically appear there, it's in my hand. So I have to understand how I kind of like shape the way that I'm starting to think. And you want to specialize in the barao or the knife curriculum that way before you start to kind of blend it into everything else, where you merge it together. Where it's kind of just the weapons in my mind, it's whatever I have at this point in time, it's whatever he or she has, and then I act based on instinct. Okay? So we're using polysit to give you like an initial response. However, right, you could literally do whatever you want, and polysit doesn't have to happen, 1 through 4. 1, finish, right? So for example, I'm over here, 1, finish, okay? 1 can flow into 2, or let's just say for whatever reason he punched in a narrow line, I could use 2, right? And then I could finish here, and there is no 3. Or maybe I just go here, and then I finish, kind of like the end of polysit. Maybe he starts off wide, so I come in with the jam first, I always try to go to the outside because that's the most freedom I have. Inside I have to engage and I have to, really make a statement to make sure that this doesn't do any more harm. Outside, I can disengage and potentially micro-target as well. Right, hands, legs. I don't have to always go towards the body. Okay? And then number 4 is from the backhand strike here. If I cut first, right? And then I enter here. I don't have to give him an angle 1. I can give him whatever angle I want. We're just using that structure to give you an idea of how we kind of like loop everything together. So to be very proficient at a flow drill like this, because it is pretty complicated, it's probably the most complicated out of the 2 flow drills that we teach. The fundamentals of empty hand, your 45-degree footwork, your understanding of live hand versus safety hand, framing, learning how to put weight, that's all happening very, very fast. Right? So here's my left foot 45. Okay? There's my frame or my check. Okay? When I come over here, there's my right side 45. I just didn't go home. Okay? I put this around here. This is the male triangle going in. Okay? So there's an intercepting line. Stepping back, that's like a shuffle step. I know it doesn't look like it, but that's the equivalent of me going like this. Okay, so I step back here. Just so happens I decide to take the 45 again. Okay? Coming home, 45 this way. Elongate my stance or position. Right? So all of those things are happening, and you don't really realize it, but that's where the knife becomes very strong. Because it tugs on all of these things, and it's all happening like this. So you don't want to just focus on the knife. I know I say that I want you to let the knife do the work, in the words of Grand Maestro Gordon Ramsay, but I want it to be based on your preservation, not on inflicting damage. There's always a time and place to inflict damage with a knife, unless you're on the ground pinned and immobilized, right? But in this particular situation, there's always going to be an opportunity, so I'm not going to waste my time just trying to hit him with my knife. I'm going to use that time to create an angle or position to solidify my safety. Right? Preservation, position, control, dominate. This is dominate. And in my scale of morality, it's far away from the top of my list of choices.